What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the CrownHoops Podcast. We are on to episode number 49 now. It's been a while, but we're back. My name is Jordan Daly. With me, as always, we got the full crew and Stacey Collier, Mike White, and Ben Okazawa. Say what's up, guys.
What up? Welcome back.
It's been a while. It has been a while. I think the last time we talked was before the NBA Finals. So we do got to give that nod to Mike and his Lakers. They are the world champions. I will give you your earned congrats. You are now welcome to the top with the Boston Celtics.
We're tied up.
Yeah.
Not for long.
I think you're going to take the lead pretty soon too, but you didn't hear that from me. Let's get right into it. NBA draft just happened. I'm sure you guys watched that or at least checked on the updates afterwards. So I want to talk a little bit about that. We had Anthony Edwards go with the first overall pick. Some questionable comments made right before the draft had a lot of people skeptical if that would make him fall a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but he made a comment along the lines of that he's just not all into basketball. Basketball isn't really where his passion is. He doesn't really watch games. He just doesn't enjoy it. He said if he was able to get drafted into the NFL tomorrow, he'd drop the NBA. And that made a lot of people question, okay, is this guy going to last? What's going to happen with him? So I just kind of wanted to get your takes on those comments. Do you think he was worthy of a number one pick? Mike, we'll start with you.
Okay, first to address the comments. I mean, look, do you want to hear the guy who could possibly go number one and maybe save your franchise? Because that's usually what you get in those top three picks. Do we want to hear him say, basketball is just what I do? No, we're not. But I mean, when you look at this draft and to your question, should he deserve to go number one? I mean, this draft was a lot where it was really questionable who was going to go number one. A lot depended on the team. I heard a lot of rumors talking about that first pick could have been traded. So obviously there was no clear guy head and shoulders above everybody else. I think everybody was, kind of around the same level. So do I want to hear my number one pick talk about how he would rather play football, this, that, or another? No. But at the end of the day, if I'm a coach, I'm like, okay, you'd rather play football. That's cool, but your ass got picked number one. So you coming in now, just make sure when you get on this court, you acting accordingly. So I don't have a big problem with it. Again, this is a young guy. He just, they were interviewing him. He just talked. How old is he? Maybe, 18, 19, 20? He's in that range. He just spoke with his heart. He said the first thing that comes to mind, and that's what we want from these athletes. We want them to be honest. Did he say the best thing? No. But as far as him actually being the number one pick, since the Timberwolves did keep that pick, I think it was the best choice. I didn't think they needed a center. You already have Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, granted, maybe he likes to play the four a little bit more. Maybe James Wiseman could have been considered. But at that two-guard position, you have D'Angelo Russell at the one. You have Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, you needed a guy there. They do have Malik Beasley, who they did re-sign, so he might be their vet. But Anthony Edwards has the potential to be a great scorer in this league. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Donovan Mitchell. Maybe not a huge guy, but explosive, can get to his spots, can get to the rim. We're going to see if he can be able to knock down the NBA three-pointer at a consistent rate. But overall, when it comes to if he should have been a number one pick, I guess for the Timberwolves, if we're just talking fit, I think he fit right there. So I think he went in perfect as the number one pick.
Okay. I mean, looking at those top three, did any of those picks surprise you, or do you think it just kind of came down to team needs?
Once Edwards went to Timberwolves, Warriors, are they going to take LaMelo when you got Steph? Probably not. So them getting Wiseman, a center that the position they've been looking for a while since Bogut left, that was kind of obvious. And then at Charlotte at number 3, you just need to take the best available. And best available to some people was LaMelo at number 1. So if he's still there at number 3, there was no way MJ was passing up an opportunity to put fans in seats, put tickets up. So I'm not surprised at all.
Okay. Ben, moving on to you. What are your kind of thoughts on Anthony Edwards' comments?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mike in the sense that it was kind of a funny draft. Usually you'll see a consensus number 1 pick. You had Zion, Markelle Fultz was a consensus number 1, Andrew Wiggins, guys like that. But in this draft, it was sort of up in the air until the last minute. You saw, like Mike said, it was going to get traded. And there's definitely a lot of questions about anybody you could have picked at that number 1 spot. Like Anthony Edwards, I believe he shot less than 30% from 3 in college. And that's only going to get harder in the NBA. So we'll see if his game is able to translate. But as far as his comments, that honestly, it's tough. Like, you question his passion. And if you don't have a passion for what you do, like, really, like you said, Jordan, how long is he going to last if he's not willing to sort of put in the work and put the passion behind what he does? Sort of like an Anthony Bennett situation. It didn't seem like he had a great work ethic. Same with Andrew Wiggins. And it's unfortunate that both those guys are Canadian, and then I just called them out for their work ethic. But it is what it is. Like, that seems to have been both of their problems. Like, Andrew Wiggins is by no means a bad player, but that's what you've heard a lot of people say about why he didn't, take over and be the superstar that he was projected to be. So if Anthony Edwards can't, put in the work that's required and be in the gym however many hours a day, then I think he could end up being a bust, especially with his 3-point shot being as shaky as it was.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, looking at that comment, that's an immediate red flag to me. If that's me making that call for the draft, I'm not taking him, at least at number 1. I'm looking at, a team rebuilding obviously is the one that has the number 1 pick. I don't want that kind of personality or character trait in the gym with all the other guys. I don't want that culture change to somehow negatively affect the rest of the team. If they see him as a number 1 pick, he's supposed to be a leader, and he's saying, I'm not really passionate about this. I'd rather be doing something else. That's not something I want in the gym around the rest of the guys. So that's an immediate red flag for me. I probably would have passed on him, if we're being honest. And Ben, you brought up the point that, he's not the best 3-point shooter. And you look at the league, and especially with shooting guards as he is, you need to be able to shoot. Even the 5 needs to be able to shoot now. So that, I don't know. This draft, all in all, I was talking with one of my friends watching the draft. It kind of reminded me as like the Anthony Bennett draft in a way. There was no clear and concise first overall pick. A couple good guys in the lottery, not too deep of a draft looking at it at that time. So yeah, I'm just not too high on this draft class as a whole. But yeah, Stacey, what are your thoughts on the Anthony Edwards comment?
I mean, the Timberwolves had no other choice but to take him at number 1 because of fit, like Mike was saying. I mean, they don't need LaMelo Ball. They got D'Angelo Russell. They don't need James Wiseman. They got Karl Anthony Towns. And Anthony Edwards, he was projected to be number 1 anyway, so they took him. As far as his comments, it is a little scary because you do want the future of your franchise, so to speak, which he kind of not really is the future of the franchise as far as the Timberwolves. They still got Karl Anthony Towns still young, and then D'Angelo Russell still young, so at least he don't have that big of pressure on him. But, it is kind of scary, but then I'm kind of glad that he's being honest with himself. Maybe he'll change his mind. I mean, we got to give him a chance to change his mind. He hasn't played in the NBA yet. He hasn't practiced in the NBA yet. Maybe being around those guys and seeing how they work, and then they can tutor him and everything. Maybe he'll do a 180 for his comments. Maybe not. Some guys that go to the NBA from college or came out of high school, whatever, some of them they don't really care about being the best. Some of them just want to make their money. Some of them got other ambitions, and they just use the NBA as a platform. So maybe he turns out to be one of those guys. But we won't see that for another few years. But hopefully he can provide something for the Timberwolves. It kind of reminds me of Andrew Wiggins in a way. That, talented player, we expect him to take off, but he just simply didn't have the passion for it. But the comedic side of me thinks that I think it's because he's going to the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves is not Timberwolves not one of those teams that people really want to play for some reason. Like Andrew Wiggins, he was with the Timberwolves. I don't think he kind of really wanted to be there, and we see he did kind of fine when he went to the Warriors. So maybe he didn't want to go to the Timberwolves. He just wanted to go to the Warriors. But we'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah, I think the craziest part is that he said it out loud, though.
Yeah,
like he is absolutely just lacking common sense. Like,
was it in his interview?
Yeah, it was in an interview.
Man, I'm lying. Like, I know. Like, come on. Like, when you go to a job and they ask you, so how would you handle this? And I wouldn't say some shit like, oh, I wouldn't handle that at all. I just let, bro, you go out to the NBA to get paid millions. No one wants to hear about how much you don't love basketball. Like,
I mean, he knew he was gonna get picked number one either way. So, I mean, he had nothing to lose.
But it's like, the only reason you say something like that is if you're Trevor Lawrence and the Jets have the number one pick. That is the only situation you can say something like that.
He probably don't want to go to the Timberwolves.
But the Timberwolves are not the Jets. That's not even close.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. But I mean, but what if you mess up and you don't go to the Warriors? Now, would you rather be at Charlotte or would you rather be at Minnesota? I might go Minnesota just because you already got D'Lo and Cat. Like,
hey, it's cold up there. It's cold.
Do you guys think the Timberwolves were trying to move that pick? Like one thing that instantly popped into my mind is I know how close the trio of D'Lo, Cat, and Booker are. So I really wonder if Minnesota was hitting up Phoenix's line, trying to find a way to get Devin Booker.
Oh, hell yeah, they was.
Oh, hell yeah. I think they was hitting them up early. I think if Chris Paul doesn't go to the Suns, and I know we're going to get into that earlier, I think they were working hard before that to make that move happen. Because like we already said, those top three picks could have really went either way, honestly. I mean, some people say LaMelo was the most talented in the draft. Some people say you can't pass up on Wiseman. So if they weren't calling, it was a problem.
Yeah, definitely. So like moving forward from Anthony Edwards, obviously we have our teams. We got 2 Lakers fans and Stacey and Mike, Raptors fan and Ben, and a Celtics fan and myself. How are you guys feeling about your team after the draft? So not the free agent signings, not the trades, just the people you draft. How are you feeling about them? Mike, we'll start with you.
Well, for my team, we traded our draft pick, but I guess I could talk about the draft pick we traded, which was the 28th pick, which ended up being Jalen McDaniels, who I like, 6'10", nice. But traded him with Danny Green for Dennis Schroder. So, I mean, technically, since that's from the draft, how do I feel about getting Dennis Schroder? I feel amazing. Anytime you get a almost 20 points off the bench, a guy like that, a guy who can stretch the floor, and it's a need. Like, we lost Rondo, and even when we had Rondo, ball handling was a need. That's why you saw us go grab Dion Waiters. So I'm happy. I'm elated. I think Dennis Schroeder's a great pickup. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see it coming, and considering what we gave up, a 28th pick in the draft, and Danny Green, much love to three-way Green. But hey, look, Dennis Schroeder's 27. He's younger. He averaged 18 points a game. Danny Green ain't never sniffed at maybe 10 a game. So right now, my Lakers, we in a good spot. You already know how I'm feeling. I'm just waiting for when we talk about after free agency. So as far as after the draft, Lakers, Pelinka, y'all did y'all thing. Good move.
What grade do you give him?
For the draft, I mean, if we're just talking about the draft, okay, you traded the 28th pick and Danny Green for Dennis Schroeder. I have to give you A minus, B plus. Like, I mean, can I really be mad at that? Like, 28th pick, you weren't getting nobody as good as Dennis Schroeder at the 28th pick.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm thinking about. So I have to give him. I don't ever give A plus. This is hard to get that on my scale, but I give you A minus, B plus for that move. That was a great move by Pelinka.
Okay, Stacey, we'll just keep with you since you're another Laker fan. How you feeling about that move?
We not gonna miss Jalen McDaniels. We not gonna miss him. The Lakers not gonna miss him.
Watch him turn into like the next MJ or something like that.
I don't think that's gonna happen. The Lakers are one of those teams. They're one of the few teams in the NBA that you really kind of don't care who they pick later on in the draft. If they down there in the draft boards. Now, if they up top 10, of course, you're gonna put some stock into it. But the Lakers not worried about the draft right now. They worry about, free agency. They worry about getting people. They worry about being healthy. So, I mean, I can't give them a grade. They traded the pick away. But, for what it's worth, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Jalen, he'll be fine, too, out there in where we go, Oklahoma City.
Philly, OKC, one of them.
Yeah, he'll be all right. He'll be good. Yeah.
All right, we'll move on from the Lakers then. Ben, how you feeling about your Raptors?
Pretty good. I mean, listen, we didn't have any super high draft picks or anything, but Masai does this all the time. I'll never doubt Masai. You got Siakam at 27. Everyone doubted that. Anunoby at, I believe, 23. Everyone doubted that. He just does it all the time. He'll take a late pick, Norman Powell in the second round, and he'll just turn it into a solid role player / star. And Malachi Flynn honestly looked pretty solid at San Diego State. They were one of the best teams in the nation in college last year, getting ready for a big, March Madness tournament before everything got shut down. So I'm pretty excited about him. I don't know too much about our second rounder, Jalen Harris, but we'll see what happens. Grade, I'll go B. I'm not sure what else they could have done with that second round pick. I didn't have too many expectations for that, but I'm pretty happy with the Malachi Flynn pick. He was looking real impressive at San Diego State, so I'll take it. And I never doubt my size. So. Okay.
Do you think he'll get any minutes this year? Any meaningful minutes, or you just kind of think he'll ride the bench, get some minutes here and there?
I mean, maybe if he was a center, he would get minutes. Maybe they'll. Shout out to whoever tweeted this, but they're going to start him sitting on Kyle Lowry's shoulders as our starting center. This was before we picked up Alex Len and Aaron Baines, and Serge Ibaka and Gasol had just left. We had literally no one. But no, I mean, point guard, it's tough to get some minutes right now. We'll see what happens, but I don't expect him to get too many minutes.
Okay. All right, well, moving on to Boston in the draft. Going into this draft, I had said, and a lot of other Boston fans were in agreement with this, if we couldn't get James Wiseman, and I added Obi Toppin to this list because I think Obi Toppin has a huge ceiling. Trade all of the picks. Don't make a single draft pick because the main Red Claws are already very good. We don't need anyone else on that team. And we didn't make a single move in the draft. We used all of our picks. So I think it was last year we live streamed the draft, all of us. Or I think it was just me and Ben. Ben, you remember when I got mad about Grant Williams?
Yep.
It was 10 times worse watching us make every pick. It was really bad.
You guys did the opposite of addressing your needs, so I completely understand your frustration.
Yeah, we took Aaron Naismith at 14 and Peyton Pritchard at 26. I didn't even bother watching the second round. I was so done with it. Naismith is nice. He is a great three-point shooter. That's kind of a thing we don't really have on the Celtics. You look at all the other teams, they all have a guy that coming off the bench that can hit a three as that specific role. That's not something the Celtics really had. Tatum would usually just take the three. So that'll be nice to have. But again, we needed a big man. We did not address those needs. We took Peyton Pritchard, tiny guy out of Oregon. I don't get that pick at all whatsoever.
Another point guard.
Another guard.
Another one.
I really don't get what we're doing. Looking at team needs, like we lost Hayward. We pretty much lost half our bench. Ben, I wish I still had your optimism. About 4 months ago, I wouldn't have said a bad word about Danny Ainge. I can't say the same anymore. And I'll get a little bit more into it after we finish up the draft. But it's just, me and the rest of the Celtics fans, we're looking at this team, and we're seeing all the teams around us get a lot better, and us just losing pieces. And it is not a good sign. So Celtics get an F for my draft grade. They did not do what they were supposed to do.
Oh my goodness.
They did not do what they were supposed to do. No, I'm not. I've been too nice to the Celtics. I've always been way too biased in their favor. It's time to get real and see it as it is. 4th seed at best. So I'm not really a fan of what Ainge did in the draft, but with that we'll move on to the free agency, continuing with kind of the Celtics, not anymore. I think Hayward kind of shocked everyone when he decided to sign a massive contract with the Charlotte Hornets. What the hell, MJ? What were you doing? That has to be one of the worst contracts in NBA history.
It's a bad one. MJ's got a bit of a penchant for doing stuff like that, though. Look at how much money Nick Batum's making. Like
Michael Kidd-Gilchrist a couple years ago.
I was just about to say, it's not even a bad decision by Gordon Hayward. This is all about the owner. If I'm Gordon Hayward, shit, you offer me 4 years, 4 years, 120?
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Taking it.
His agent needs a raise ASAP.
Immediately.
Yep.
Or MJ just needs to get canned. It's one or the other. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
got too much money, yo. He got too much money on shoes, man. You just throwing that much at Gordon Hayward, dog. Like, what?
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless if he knows something we don't, like Gordon Hayward faked the whole injury a couple years ago and he's completely fine. I don't know, but no, but we got to talk about this Hayward signing, all right? So, rumors went around from Celtics beat writers that the Celtics had a sign and trade offer from Indiana. It was Miles Turner and Doug McDermott for Hayward. Danny Ainge turned it down. He wanted Miles Turner and either Oladipo or Warren in exchange for Hayward. So we could have had Miles Turner and McDermott, but Ainge was like, "Nah, I'm good. I don't want anything," and we let him walk for nothing. Pain, so much pain.
I feel the pain for you.
Thank you, Stacey. It is not a good time here in Boston.
Yeah. This is why I don't think that makes any sense, because McDermott would be your 3-point specialist that you're saying he drafted Naismith for.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles Turner is the big man you need. And then you don't get the Kardashian curse, and it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
We wanted Miles Turner so badly. We've wanted him since the beginning of last season. Celtics fans would make up these ridiculous trade offers to find a way to get him. I don't know why Danny Ainge didn't pull the trigger. I don't know why. Instead, we have a bunch more rookies on our bench that are never going to play minutes. We re-signed Shemi Ojeleye, the guy that couldn't hit the side of a barn if he tried, is going to get even more minutes now because Hayward's gone and we didn't find a replacement for him. It's just so stressful. And in our podcast notes, I even wrote, talk about what the hell the Celtics are doing, because where are they going here? You look at all the other teams in the East and around the NBA, gaining assets and getting better and filling their needs. The Celtics go ahead and sign Tristan Thompson and Jeff Teague. That's not going to do it.
Well, I mean, Tristan Thompson. Let me play devil's advocate for Tristan Thompson. Okay.
Make me feel better, Stacey.
All right, so we've seen Tristan Thompson at his best, as high ceiling, especially on defense in the LeBron era Cavaliers. I really like that he's a defender that's willing to go out the perimeter and guard, a point guard. We see him on Steph Curry. We see him lock Steph Curry up a couple times. He's a very good rebounder, especially on the offensive boards. High energy. I think the problem is, he got paid. When he was with the Cavaliers, LeBron left. They had no shot of winning at all. So he was just collecting checks, going out there, doing whatever he wants to do. But I think since he's in more of a winning situation, I think he'll play up to Tristan Thompson standards like we've seen him in the LeBron era. As far as Jeff Teague, I guess he can score. I mean, I guess. I don't know.
Just another guard for you guys.
I mean, he's better than Wanamaker, which is what we had, and I don't want to put that a knock against Wanamaker. I think he played extremely well for the role he was given. He went off to Golden State, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, that's a little bit of upgrade. I think Jeff Teague can play some good defense as well. Tristan Thompson, yeah, he fills our need. We finally have that true five that we haven't had in years. I can't even name Kelly Olynyk, I think, was our last true five. And that's even a stretch at that. So, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, we hit those check marks, but, looking at everything else we had and we could have done, this offseason is a failure for Boston.
Danny Ainge got greedy. Like, I would have took that in a heartbeat. You can get Miles Turner, young defender, great at blocking and everything. Give me Dougie McBuckets. I seen Dougie McBuckets in person when I went to Missouri State. When you dropped 20 and a half on us, the guy can shoot.
Yeah, see, my only thing, and look, I gotta do the same thing, play devil advocate just a little bit with them trades. Miles Turner, yes, you could have probably used him, but when it comes to McDermott, he is a knockdown shooter. But there's the other side of the court where I think he's just trash at, and I don't think you want to put. I think he's a liability out there. I understand. Now, I'll say it like this: do I think you could have made a better move than letting Gordon Hayward just walk? Yes, but I understand Danny Ainge angling to try to get a better wing player in return, i.e. T.J. Warren, because there was talks about Oladipo wanting to be out, I thought, and then he kind of backtracked. Who knows what's going on with that? But I don't know. A part of me feels like even though Gordon Hayward, yes, we know the injury is there, but he is still a former All-Star. He's still almost averaged about 17, 18 points, something like that, Jordan.
I think he hit 20.
So shit, you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like I just don't feel like McDermott was that piece that comes back that makes me feel okay about letting Gordon Hayward go. Now, I know, granted, you got Miles Turner, but I'm going to be honest. I think Tristan Thompson can probably duplicate whatever Miles Turner was going to do for you. Because I remember at one point, Miles Turner was benched, if I believe, for the Pacers. So it's not like he's really stood out. He's had some moments. He's had some up and down moments is what I really mean to say there. So, I mean, it's tough losing Gordon Hayward for nothing. And yes, I agree with your analysis on the draft. Why go get two guards? Aaron Nesmith, yes, he is a shooter, but why go get Pritchard? That doesn't make much sense to me. But I do like Jeff Teague over Wanamaker. Like you said, I do think he's better than Wanamaker. I think he's been to the playoffs more. I think he has more veteran experience, especially when it comes to running that offense. But I think what Boston can hold on to at least is they still kept that nucleus at least. You still got Kemba Walker. You still got Jason Tatum. You still got Jaylen Brown. You still got these guys that have been to the playoffs now, for the first time together with Kemba Walker. So that chemistry can build. But, man, I don't know. Giving up Gordon Hayward for McDermott, it's just something about McDermott that just doesn't.
Let me put it this way, though. Would you rather have McDermott or Ojale off the bench?
Depends on what else I got. It depends on what else I got. If I have shooters already, let me put it to you like this. If I have 3 and D guys already, like for sure dominant 3 and D guys, okay, give me Ojale. He can go bang in the paint because what is he, like 6'8"? I know he's just mostly a defender, rebound, energy type guy. I get it. Again, it really just depends on what you want on your roster. I think you could have did worse at the same time, but again, I don't know. Something about McDermott just doesn't sit well with the identity of this team to me on the perimeter. I feel like he'll be out there getting burnt.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, the Pritchard pick is really what's throwing me off. I mean, the only reason I could think they wouldn't take a big with that pick is they're putting a lot of stock into Rob Will, which, again, I like Rob Will. I mean, now they have Tristan Thompson, they have Daniel Tice, and Rob Will. They'll probably alternate those between the 4 and the 5. Again, I think it would have been nice to have just one more. Grant Williams, good player, but not someone I want with a lot of minutes, and he's undersized at that as well. So,
what about Taco, man? Talk to me. 2-way deal. Talk to me. It's time. Caruso started out on a 2-way. Come on, talk to me. He started out on a 2-way.
Taco in the game. I don't know. I mean, he's so big, but I feel like he has no basketball IQ or basketball skill. And just watching him run up and down the court is a movie on its own. It's very entertaining. But no, there's nothing there in Taco. He's just he's a fan favorite. I will leave it at that. But we'll kind of move on from Boston. And one more quick note, I do want to add that Tatum did sign the max contract, so we did do one good thing this offseason. We got him 5 years with that 5th year being a player option. So a lot of us fans were very, very happy to know that we now have Smart, Brown, and Tatum for the next few years, pending trade, obviously. So that's definitely a big relief. The rest, though, I think that's going to be interchangeable year after year. But I think we have our core, which is something I'm confident about moving forward. But kind of move on. We'll look over in the West Coast to the Houston Rockets. They were able to get DeMarcus Cousins, Christian Wood, and Sterling Brown as additions to their squad this year. I think they really hit their team needs, getting those 2 bigs in Cousins and Christian Wood. Christian Wood was a target I really wanted on the Celtics. Unfortunately, the Celtics did not get him, but I think he's a very good addition to Houston. I think Houston, if they're able to keep the rest of their assets, I've heard a lot of trade rumors about Harden, but I don't think anything will ever come of that. And Westbrook. I think Houston has a good chance over there. What are your thoughts on Houston? We'll start with you, Stacey.
I stated on SOS Stacey on Sports Podcast show.
Plug it.
I stated that Christian Wood was one of the biggest signings in free agency, and I think that his presence with the Rockets could propel Harden and Westbrook to want to stay a little more. And I think that signing will be a bigger splash if those two stay, because he fills in a great need for them. They needed a big. They needed a productive big. That was one of the reasons why they couldn't hang with the Lakers in the playoffs, and they feel they need Cousins. I'm a Demarcus Cousins fan, and I hope he makes a comeback. Now I wanted him to go back to the Lakers. That's where he belongs, really, to the Lakers. But I think if he proves that he's healthy and he stays healthy, he'll be great, because we've seen how he was with the Warriors when they signed him after injury, and when he was there, he changed his game a little bit. He tailored to the Golden State Warriors, and he was very productive. So, pending health, I think Boogie is a great signing, and then Sterling Brown, solid player coming off the bench. I think that's what the Rockets need. They need somebody tough coming off the bench. So, I think this should help their case in keeping Harden and Westbrook.
Okay. Ben, how you feeling about the Rockets additions?
I mean, I'll just touch on Demarcus Cousins real quick. It sucks because King's Boogie was a beast. He was top 3 center in the league, easy like 25 and 15 guy kind of thing. But I don't think it's unfortunate, but I don't think he'll ever reach anywhere close to that level again. Mm-hmm. I don't even expect him to get a lot of minutes with the Rockets, to be honest. They do have a bit of a need at center, but I just don't think he's the guy to. First of all, I don't expect him to stay healthy if he does get minutes, and even if he does, stay healthy throughout the season, I don't think he's going to get minutes anyway. But Christian Wood is really the big signing here to me. I'm not entirely convinced because post All-Star break he exploded. It's a small sample size though. We haven't seen a whole lot of Christian Wood, but he showed some flashes. He showed some flashes before, March 11th or whenever it was that the league got shut down, and we haven't seen him play since. But he was a pretty exciting player pretty much throughout all of the regular season last year. So I think he's a big addition to the Rockets for sure.
Yeah, I'm really high on Christian Wood. I've mentioned it in previous episodes, so I think that's a huge accomplishment there for Houston to be able to bring him in. I agree with you about Demarcus Cousins. He's just not the same player he was. I don't think he will get too many minutes. I think he's more there for fans, to be honest. But Mike, what's kind of your opinion on those additions?
Let's just assume James Harden and Russell Westbrook don't go anywhere. If we just look at these additions, DeMarcus Cousins is a good pickup. Houston tried small ball last year, like you already stated. It didn't work out for them in the playoffs. They ran into a bigger team. But at the end of the day, adding DeMarcus Cousins doesn't hurt you at this point because you have no real center on the team. Christian Wood is great, like you guys said. He can step out, knock down the perimeter shot, really performed well for Detroit last year. Sterling Brown, another rotational piece to go along with Eric Gordon and PJ Tucker. But I mean, if I'm being honest, a lot of this is really gonna and excuse me if I get the coach's name wrong, but I think it's Steve Silas, the new coach. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of this is going to depend how he puts Westbrook and Harden in position to succeed next year. In a month, because the season's right around the corner. Like, how are you going to play them? Mike D'Antoni is gone, so we can't use that excuse anymore. Like, okay, well, this is D'Antoni's system. We know it's going to get them this far, and they're going to fall out in the playoffs. Nope. New coach in, Harden, Westbrook. This is like, even though it's a lot of the same still players there, this is almost kind of like a fresh start because it's going to be a new type of offense in there. You got, again, Christian Wood, DeMarcus Cousins comes in. This team already knows they have to do something different. What they've been trying to do for the last 5 to 6 years or whatever it may be, it hasn't worked so far. It hasn't worked. They haven't been to a finals yet. So they have to try something different. And for these two superstars in particular, when it comes to Russell Westbrook and James Harden, I mean, at this point, it's like, James Harden is what, 31, 32? Russell Westbrook's up there. He's not a shooter. Athleticism's declining. It's time to get really serious about what's going to happen next if the goal is to win a ring in Houston. So I like the picks. I think they're decent picks. I'd probably give them like B-, B+ if I had to grade them. But again, I don't think none of these guys that they're bringing in is going to be the reason, like, okay, we're a championship team now. I think that's all going to depend upon how the coach puts these guys on the court and how they play this year. So it's a good start. It's a good step, assuming they don't make any trades from here. But Houston got to prove a lot to me. They got to prove a lot to me. I got to see what they do coming up. So we're going to see.
Okay. All right, we'll move on from Houston. We'll go to Stacey and Mike's Lakers. They got a lot of nice assets coming in. I am beyond terrified of the Lakers going into this season with the additions of Marc Gasol, Wesley Matthews, Dennis Schroder, and Montrezl Harrell. That is a scary, scary team. Mike, I know you've been waiting for this moment since we first started talking about it a little bit in the draft. Run wild. Be free.
Hey, so what you want? You want a grade? You want me to give you a grade?
Get creative, man. You've earned this.
Hey, so look, man. Fresh off a chip. You know the cliche. You can't come back next year the same way you were last year if you plan on repeating. You just can't do it. So look, man. What my Lakers go do, they go out, they grab Schroder, like we said. We find a replacement for Danny Green with Wesley Matthews. We go grab Montrezl Harrell off the bench. Because don't forget, this roster that the Lakers had last year. Remember now, we waited for Kawhi. We let free agents was going left and right. I was like, man, I hope we get Seth Curry. I hope we get this guy. We let them all go by the wayside because Kawhi wanted to just dangle us along. Nuh-uh. Not this year. No. We not waiting no more. That's okay. We're going to get the people we need. So we bolstered the bench. One of the biggest problems from the Lakers this year, bench scoring. Hey, who's going to come in, give LeBron 80 a break? Now we have Dennis Schroder. Like I said earlier, almost 20 points a game, 18 points a game last year. Runner-up for six-man last year. Now we have Montrezl Harrell, who, yes, did he get exposed defensively in the playoffs against Jokic? Yes, but come on, man. You're playing with LeBron and AD now. It's a little bit different over here on the other side of the hallway in L.A. But look, you bring him in, another 18-point guy, six-man in the year. Then you add Wesley Matthews, who, if you want to ask who's better between him and Danny Green, maybe it's just a flip of the coin. But the point is the production is still there. You're going to get kind of the same production that you would get between those two players. Then we lose Dwight Howard. He tweeted a little early, whatever. I ain't going to talk about that. And then you bring in Marc Gasol. Now, look, losing McGee and Dwight Howard, I will admit the one weakness I do see for the Lakers is athleticism. You definitely lost a lot of athleticism, a lot of shot blocking with those two being gone. Montrezl Harrell, I believe, is only like 6'7", 6'8", playing the 4. But you bring in Marc Gasol, who may not be as athletic as those two. High basketball. I mean, cool. What's up, Ben? You know, I'm looking at you. High basketball IQ, can knock down a three-pointer. I'm just already anticipating pick and rolls with Marc Gasol and LeBron James. Like, Marc Gasol can literally be the guy running the pick and roll if you think about it. So it's just kind of crazy. Seeing him pass the ball at a high post is going to be crazy with AD and Montrezl and LeBron. So right now, if you want me to just be honest, I'm elated. I'm elated. I'm not going to call no repeat. I ain't going to call no repeat because that's not me. I ain't going to call it because that's not me. Okay? It's going to take some hard work. Last year, I told y'all, I'm feeling good about it. I said we went and we did our thing. But see, this year, we better. Okay? See, last year, we picked up people off the scraps. JR, no offense. Dion, no offense. Markieff Morris, off the buyout, no offense. These guys did what they had to do. But now it's time. Pelinka not playing. He done slicked the hair back. And we not playing no more, bro. We not playing. I'm coming with that energy all season. But let me wrap it up so y'all can talk. Look, Lakers have had a great condensed offseason because that's what this has been. It's been a condensed offseason. They upgraded literally everywhere. I mean, the only thing you could say bad about my Lakers right now is, who's really actively protecting the rim like that? And that's cool. Don't forget about AD. That's all I'm going to say. That's it. That's all I got. That's it.
Your catchphrase from beginning of last season of who's stopping AD has stuck with us. It is stuck with us.
Ain't nothing
it is in my dreams at night. AD. I think of it when I wake up in the morning. It's just everywhere.
Ooh, that's all I want to know. That's it.
All right. Well, I'm glad you were able to express your happiness with your team. I can't do that, so I'm going to live vicariously through you on that.
It's
Is
okay.
Mike happy? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, Mike's definitely big happy right now.
It didn't come through.
Look, man, don't make me bring up the starting lineup of Xavier Henry, Robert Saker, and Jordan Clarkson. No offense, Jordan, you got paid in Utah, you doing your thing, but back then you was a young buck. Jordan Clarkson, like, we came a long way, bro. Like,
it's a long road.
It's been a long road, so I'm loving it. I'm loving seeing a front office do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, it must be nice. I don't know what it feels like anymore.
Y'all got picks, bro.
Yeah, our G League team's insane. Stacey, how you feeling about the Lakers additions?
I knew going in this offseason that the Lakers was going to lose some pieces because that usually happens with a championship team, especially with people that's on a one-year deal. And they did what I expected them to do, which was to replace those guys with the same amount of production or even better. Wesley Matthews could be better than Danny Green. I love they picked up Dennis Schroder. I thought that was a weak point in the Lakers that they needed some point guard help, somebody to facilitate the team and score, and they got there with Dennis Schroder. Montrezl Harrell, that surprised the hell out of me. I did not see that coming, but I'm glad that it's here. That's a huge pickup. I think LeBron would definitely bring the best out of defensively Montrezl Harrell. And getting Marcus Gasol was another huge surprise too. Great defender. Can do a lot of great things offensively as well. Him being up there in age and him being slow, that does scare me a little bit. I'm glad, Mike, you brought that up. The front court, the speed in the front court to keep up on them pick and rolls and keep up with like bigs that can step out and stuff. That does scare me. And then Lakers 3-point shooting as well. They're still lacking in that department. But I think the Lakers made out pretty good, and they are the favorites to repeat for the championship. So I'm excited for the pickup. I do want to see how Montrezl Harrell fits in with AD and all that. So I think they did great. I think they did great.
Okay. Ben, how you feeling? I know you may be a little salty that Marcus Gasol left to go join the defending champions. How you feeling about it?
The weirdest thing about that is there was reports that came out that he was retiring from the NBA and going to play for FC Barcelona in when
Los Angeles
or as soon as the season ended for us. So I was surprised. I didn't even know he was still in the NBA. So I that didn't hurt me. Ibaka leaving hurt me, but we'll get into that later. But I think, listen, there's no such thing as a lock. It's the NBA. Anything can happen. At the same time, the Lakers are as close to a lock as you can get. You take the reigning champions. You had the sixth man of the year. You had the runner-up to the sixth man of the year, former defensive player of the year, Marcus Gasol. Essentially, like Mike said, not quite in my opinion, but you replace Danny Green with Wes Matthews. It's tough. And Stacey, you say you have concerns about Gasol's athleticism, but he doesn't really rely on that for his game at all. Yeah. He's so smart defensively. Like, he can cover those pick and rolls. I've seen him do it expertly. So for him, it's just he ages well because he doesn't rely on stuff like that for his game. So, I mean, you guys, winners of the offseason easily. If you don't win a chip, I'd be surprised and disappointed. Braun getting that number 5. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a fun year to watch for the Lakers for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say this. On paper, this is probably one of the best teams ever constructed. On paper, I want to see how they all mesh together and play together. I'm saying one of. I'm not saying the best. I'm saying one of. I want to see how they mesh together. But on paper, this is a loaded team, and this scares me very much. So I want to see, like when you mentioned how Harrell comes in and plays with the rest of the squad. I think if he can make things work there, that's scary. Then you're going to have Dennis Schroder. That is a scary, scary team. I don't even really want to think about it anymore. So we're going to move on to the other LA team, the Clippers, getting Ibaka from the Raptors. Obviously, the Clippers lost Montrezl Harrell. Is Ibaka enough to replace the Clippers? Are the Clippers still touted to be one of the best teams in the West? You look at this same time last year when it was like, oh, it's going to be battle of the LA for the 1 seeds. Who's it going to be, Lakers or Clippers? Do you guys still think that that's there at all? Do you think the Clippers are still, up there as they were last year, or do you think after you saw them in the playoffs just not perform well, do you think that hype's kind of gone? Ben, we'll start with you.
I think it's not there anymore, in my opinion. It's not the same rivalry it was last year, but that doesn't necessarily mean the Clippers got worse. Because I think Ibaka is a good replacement for Harrell. He's a good defender, rim protector. Obviously not what he was in his OKC days, but he can still get up there and block some shots. He's a pretty good three-point shooter, and he was impressing me with that, especially in the bubble, and even throughout the regular season as well. So he's shooting threes well. He's got a bit of size on Harrell. I think he's a good replacement player for him. But the Lakers just got so much better that it makes it less of a contest, less of a rivalry. So I gotta, say that the Lakers are a bit of a heavyweight, and they wouldn't really contend with the Clippers in the same weight class as the Clippers here. I think they would just be a bit out of reach for the Clippers this season.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I don't see it anymore. After kind of having a whole season to digest Kawhi and Paul George, they don't play together as well as everyone had hoped. So yeah, I think that's kind of done for them. I'll still give them top 4 seed somewhere within there, but definitely not battling for the 1 seed anymore. Stacey, what are your thoughts on the Clippers?
Yeah, the Battle of LA, that came and went. That came and went. The Clippers did not hold up their end at all. But I think Ibaka, I agree with Ben. Ibaka is a great replacement for Montrezl Harrell. I really like his game, especially defensively. And then they also brought back Marcus Morris too. He's pretty good. He's okay. I do expect them to compete for the top 4 seeds in the West. Right now, I got them at number 3. I think they could go as high as 2 again, but I think they'll be number 3. I got the Nuggets and obviously the Lakers ahead of them. My expectations for them has gotten lower. I think if they reach the rest of conference finals, I think it'd be a great surprise for all of us and a surprise for them. Just because I'm high on the Denver Nuggets going into next season. I'm very high on them now. I expect that rematch to happen between them and the Lakers, and that's where the Clippers fall out the conversation. So I think the whole aura, the whole magic, the whole Battle of LA thing is dead because it's the Clippers, and we all know how the Clippers are historically. But I think, as far as free agency concerned, they made out okay.
Yeah. And I should say as well, I said, it wouldn't be that much of a rivalry. I still think the Clippers are the second best team in the West, in my opinion. I just think it's a bigger gap than it was before. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are still top 10 players when they're, Paul George people are giving him a lot of, flack right now because of his performance in the playoffs, whatever. When he's playing well, he's a top 10 player, in my opinion, at least top 12 in the league. So you got 2 sort of top 12 players right there in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, elite 2-way players. I still think they're the second best team in the West. I just think it's a bigger gap than it was last season.
Okay. Stacey, I definitely want to agree with you. Speaking about the Nuggets, I really hope we see another Denver-Utah matchup at some point because that series was incredible. But Mike, I just want to get your quick thoughts on how you're feeling with the Clippers.
As far as the Ibaka signing, like you guys said, to me that's an upgrade. Maybe not regular season so much because Montrezl Harrell is younger, but when it comes to the playoffs, as far as defense, pick and roll defense, pick and pop, shooting threes, I think Ibaka's definitely the better player than Montrezl Harrell. So I'm not mad at that pickup at all. But I can't grade their offseason that well. And again, the offseason's not over. We're recording this today, but it's not over. But they haven't addressed the one issue that was a problem, and that's the point guard position. The one their star player, Kawhi Leonard, has said, we need a point guard. There was rumors they were going to go after Rondo and throw some money at him. But as we see, he went to Atlanta. So to me, yeah, you found a replacement for Trez, and he might be better in the playoffs, but who's still running your show? Ibaka's not running your show. We've seen Kawhi can't run your show. Even as great as he is, he's not on that LeBron level when it comes to playmaking. PG, I mean, he's got to actually show up. So I still think there's some holes there for the Clippers. But as far as the rivalry with the whole battle for LA thing, like you guys said, that shit over. Hey, look, we got the chip. Now, what's going to be the headline is how can the Clippers upstage the Lakers, who have already won a chip now? Because last year it was like, oh, we don't know who's going to take this over. No, we got that. So now it's the Clippers saying, okay, what can we do to attack that team upstairs? Because honestly, when I look at these teams, and this is crazy. Last year we was doing this and it was the other way, but now when I look at these teams on paper, I'm looking at it like, yo, I'm not worried about the Clippers. I'm not. Like, yes, you have Kawhi, you have Paul George, you have Ibaka. That's solid, but you still got Zubac down there. I still don't think anybody on your team can guard Anthony Davis, and you still don't have a point guard running your show. So I think the Clippers are still a top 3 team. I mean, regular season, they're going to win games, man. When you got Kawhi and Paul George, you should win games. I still think they're going to be a top 4 team in the West, but I think they still got some moves to make and some work to do if their goal is getting to the NBA Finals, which we know ultimately is going to go through the show. So, yeah, they got work to do, man.
All right, we'll move on from the battle, in quotations, of LA. Move on to Toronto. Like we said earlier, they lost Marc Gasol and Ibaka, but they did sign Aaron Baines. Coming with that is the Aaron Baines fan club on Twitter. And they also re-signed Fred VanVleet, who got the bag, and I think everyone across the NBA is extremely happy for him. Ben, how you feeling about the offseason?
I mean, like I said about Gasol, I thought he was already gone, so it didn't hurt to lose him that much. Hurts to lose Ibaka, but it is what it is. I'm expecting some regression with our team this year, given what happened. But Baines and Alex Len are both solid pickups, in my opinion. I'm pretty happy with both of them. Like we were saying, Stacey, before the podcast started, like, these aren't flashy guys. These aren't, huge signings that we're paying a lot of money for, but they'll get the job done. They'll rough and tumble down low. They'll be good. They'll do their part. But I mean, and same with VanVleet. Like, I'm really happy for him on just like a personal level as a player. It's a pretty inspiring journey for him. He's like under 6 feet. I think he's listed as 6 feet, but he's under 6 feet. So I mean, happy for him because he's a rough rider. He had to really grind to get to where he is. So all respect and love to VanVleet. Glad he got paid. As far as Toronto's offseason, man, just whatever. 6 feet at best. Whatever, it's fine.
Oh, I feel you. I can relate with that.
Lower. It's some regression for sure.
Okay, Stacey, you obviously had some reaction to that. Where do you think is Toronto's ceiling going into this year with the moves they've made?
It ain't as low as a 6 seed. Come on, Ben, have some more faith in it, man. Come on. I think Baines and Lynn are underrated moves. I like Aaron Baines. I thought he was going to be like heavily sought after because he can provide productive minutes at the big man position. Of course, I don't think he's going to fully replace the impact of Marc Gasol, fully replace the impact of Serge Ibaka, but I think they'll do well. I mean, they got Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches in the NBA. So he's going to put them in proper positions to win and probably overachieve. I can still see them competing for the top 3-4 seeds in the East. I can still see that for them. And far as Fred VanVleet, I told you, Mike, on your show, I said they was going to give him the bag. And look where we at now. They gave him the bag.
Hey, well deserved.
yeah. Like I brought up a few times. He's one of my favorite players to watch. I like watching him, especially when he get hot. Like, it's amazing to watch, and I'm glad they brought him back. I think that's going to put in new life into the Toronto Raptors. They keep their core intact. Hopefully, at some point, they can bring in like a more of a dominant player, like a star type player. Like, they got solid players, and I don't think Pascal Siakam is that superstar, that guy with that it factor. I don't think he's that, but I mean, they just like one big piece away from being like finals contenders. But I think they'll be like top 4 in the East.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard Giannis is a free agent in 2021, so we'll see.
Hey,
Next
look,
year is going to be a big free agent.
Sources say.
One thing I want to mention with Van Vliet, though, is I believe he set NBA history. I believe he is the highest paid G League player ever now. He was an undrafted guy in the G League, so I think he kind of set that record there, and I think it'll be a while until anyone breaks that. Actually, no, I retract that statement because of the new G League team coming in next year, the Ignite team. Is that what they're called?
Something like that.
He's
those
the
guys who are not going to college.
Yeah. That team's going to be gross, but it's the highest paid undrafted player, so they're obviously not.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I'll stick with my original statement. I don't think that'll ever get broken, unless Van Vliet gets another extension later on down the road. But Mike, kind of looking at you with Toronto, obviously when you lose players, you got to look at the pros to that. It means some certain players are going to get more touches. Do you think there's anyone on Toronto's roster that will be able to benefit from that?
They just re-signed was Chris Boucher, I believe. I expect
14 mil.
Yeah, so I expect to see a lot more minutes out of him. The only thing that sucks about Toronto's offseason when you talk about losing guys like Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol is just that IQ. Like, I'm just going to stick with that. Just that IQ when it comes to the playoff, that chemistry. Baines and Alex Len, do they have – I mean, how much playoff experience do they really have? That'll probably be my only question. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's whatever it is, it's minuscule. So, granted, everybody else around them have been in those heat, has been in the playoffs. And like we said, Nick Nurse is a great coach. They're gonna win regular season games, even though they're starting out. What are they starting the season in Tampa or whatever? So it's a little weird, little out of the element, but they're gonna win regular season games. Again, we already talked about Fred VanVleet. Undrafted guy, biggest record ever for a contract, so that's big. They still have him. Kyle Lowry's still there. Norman Powell, OG Anunoby. So there's continuity there. New big man, you're gonna have to work into it. I still see this team 5 and up. I don't think they drop no lower than 5 because this is the type of team that plays hard every single night. And unfortunately, we know in the regular season, not every NBA team does that. You know what I mean? It's not every. Don't forget, Toronto was the number 2 seed this year. I think they won about 52, 53 games or something like that. So Ibaka and Gasol going out is going to hurt him. I do like Baines. He can stretch the floor. He's gotten better recently. But, man, it's a rough offseason when you lose some guys that have been there for a while and that chemistry's already been built. So I don't see them getting to the finals or nothing crazy like that. But I think they'll be one of those teams in the playoffs like, I don't want to play them. Like, do I doubt we can beat them? No. But do I want to play them? The answer is no. That's why I think Toronto is in the East right now.
Okay. We'll kind of move on from Toronto, jumping back to the West with Phoenix. They acquired Chris Paul and signed Jay Crowder in the offseason. That is a good team. We saw Phoenix go 8-0 in the bubble. Devin Booker was on fire. That whole team just seemed to click. A little too late for them, though. With those additions right there, that's game-changing for Phoenix. Devin Booker doesn't need to do the primary ball carrier, doesn't need that responsibility anymore. They have a proven leader, a proven veteran leader with experience, playoff experience in CP3. Jay Crowder is just a tough guy. He's great to come off the bench, or if they start him, I mean, they could ultimately rotate him into the starting lineup. I think they have some options now. Phoenix just became a contender, I think. Ben, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Phoenix and these acquisitions?
Yeah, I mean, Phoenix isn't going to be crazy. Let's be realistic. I don't think Phoenix is going to be a title contender or anything like that. But they are going to be one of those teams that makes the playoffs in a, sort of upper middle seed, and they're going to be a team, like Mike was saying about the Raptors, that I would be sort of nervous to face. I mean, Devin Booker's been an elite talent for a long time, and he just hasn't had any help. And he's still only 23, is it? 24?
Yeah, 23, 24, somewhere around there.
And he's, as we saw in the bubble, dominant, elite young player. And now you add one of the best point guards in the league who doesn't need the ball in his hands to succeed, which is a big thing because Devin Booker, that's what he does. He scores. He needs the ball in his hands. CP3 is the exact opposite. He can affect the ball. He can affect the game in so many ways where he doesn't need the ball. And then add a guy like Jay Crowder, a good, defensive wing type of guy. who's just a good role player. It's solid. You got DeAndre Ayton as well. Mikal Bridges had a good bubble, performance. I don't think this team is a threat to the Lakers whatsoever. Even teams like the Nuggets, Clippers, I would take in like 6 in a playoff series against the Suns. But they got a lot more exciting. They're going to make the playoffs for the first time in Devin Booker's 6 or 7 year career. So I mean, good for them. Okay,
Stacey, how you feeling about Phoenix? Do you think it's enough to at least make them playoff contenders, make a little run? Obviously, we're not going to see them making it to the finals or anything crazy like that. But do you think they have enough to make a run?
I think they have enough to make the playoffs. Yeah, I think they do. Chris Paul was if they just had Chris Paul along without Jay Crowder, I would expect them to reach the playoffs because that's what they need. This is a young team. They finally after 18 tries, they finally got the right head coach in there, and then now you got a floor general that takes pressure off Devin Booker being playmaker. I realize Devin Booker as a secondary playmaker on this team, not the primary. Mm-hmm. So his turnover is going to get cut down. DeAndre Ayton vastly underrated due to Luka Doncic and Trae Young, vastly underrated, and they got
just
some
being
young
in Phoenix.
Yeah, and just
to be honest.
And they got some young talent too. Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, surprised people last year. I think he scored like 11 points per game last year. So I'm excited for him. And Phoenix were one of those few teams that I was waiting for them to pick it up and get back into the playoffs. And I was waiting for them. And then you got teams in the West that were in the playoffs. They getting a little bit worse. The Thunder, even though the Thunder, everybody's high on their young players and everything, they lost a lot of leadership and they lost some talent. Losing CP3, losing Steven Adams, and then Billy Donovan's not there no more. Utah, we don't know where they going exactly. So, and then the Rockets, if they lose Harden and Westbrook before the season starts, they're definitely going to take a tumble. So they have the chance, the Phoenix Suns have a chance to overtake one of those spots and get into the playoffs. So I'm expecting them to compete for a playoff seed. I think they can go as high as 5.
Okay. Mike, how you feeling about Phoenix? Do you think they can get higher than 5, or do you think Stacey's right with that?
I don't think they can get higher than 5. I see them somewhere in that 6 to 8 range. Granted, anytime you add Chris Paul to your team that already has a Devin Booker who, like all of you have said, is elite. You got DeAndre Ayton, a number 1 pick in the draft, former number 1 pick, budding big man, had him on fantasy, man. He giving you at least 20 and 12 a night. So you add Chris Paul, you automatically at about 25, 26, 27. But granted, we'll see what happens. But I don't know, man. When I think about this Phoenix team, yes, you got Chris Paul, you got Devin Booker. Like you guys said, you got Ayton, you got Saric, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. I think you got Javon Carter off the bench, who's a good player out of West Virginia, I believe. But, I mean, even though outside of the Lakers, even though I think all the teams in the West maybe got at the most slightly better, I'm just looking at it, and that 6 through 8 range is all I can give them because you got LA, you got the Clippers, you got Denver. I think Dallas is going to be another a better, with Luka and Porzingis coming back healthy. I think Portland is not going to be hanging around the 8th seed this year. I think they had one of the better off seasons outside of the Lakers too. I think New Orleans is a wild card. You still got Zion Williamson there. We're waiting to see what happens with Brandon Ingram, but that's another 25-point-a-night guy. And then I haven't even said Golden State. Yeah, you lost Klay Thompson, but you still got a unanimous MVP. So I think the West is still going to be tough. I think it's going to be a lot of slugging it out, which is why I really like the play-in games that they're having and how they're doing that. But as far as Phoenix, man, I cannot put them any higher than 6 as of right now. I still got to see what some other teams do. Again, I like their nucleus. Chris Paul is going to make them great. Basically, Chris Paul is going to make them the team that, when you see Detroit or you see Charlotte on your schedule, you're like, okay, we should win that.
Yeah.
Chris Paul is going to make Phoenix like, okay, I need to stay up and watch this game. We might not win that. But do I see them becoming a force in the West? I just don't. Granted, Chris Paul got OKC to the 5th seed. I don't see the Suns any higher than 6. You still need that experience. They still haven't made the playoffs. Who knows how long. It'll be Devin Booker's first time in the playoffs. It'll be DeAndre Ayton's first time in the playoffs. All the young guys you guys just named, it'll be their first time plus Chris Paul. So I usually tend to bank on experience. I think they're a first-round exit type of team, but they're definitely better than they were last year.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely a fair assumption. Kind of moving on from that, you mentioned New Orleans in the West. One addition we saw, and subtraction, I guess you could say, we saw a trade. I believe it was right before the draft happened, or right after. I can't remember. Jrue Holiday got sent to the Bucks, which I think is a massive, massive subtraction for New Orleans and a massive addition for Milwaukee. And Steven Adams went to New Orleans. Those are the big player moves out of that trade. I'm not going to go through the whole trade, but Jrue Holiday to the Bucks, I think that's a huge, huge improvement for Milwaukee. Giannis finally gets that playmaker, ball handler guy that he's desperately needed. Bledsoe was not that guy. And New Orleans gets a big and Steven Adams to go right next to Zion Williamson, which is scary. The amount of bruises that are going to be on the other team after playing them, battling through their screens.
That double screen going to be crazy.
Get the trainers ready. Ready.
Someone's going to spend 48 minutes taking screens from Zion and Steven Adams. They might kill someone.
It's going to be bad. These trainers are going to need raises. Get the ice baths ready. Yeah. That's just not going to be fun to play against New Orleans. But I think they're really going to miss out from not having that true ball handler in Jrue Holiday. Kind of looking at this trade, how are you guys feeling about the Bucks and New Orleans? And for this situation, let's just assume Brandon Ingram resigns in New Orleans, because I think that is ultimately what will happen. Mike, we'll start with you on this one.
I'll start with the Bucks. Getting Jrue Holiday, that's a big pickup, an A+ pickup. I know they didn't get Bogdanovich, another shooter that they wanted. But what Jrue Holiday does when you bring him in that Eric Bledsoe doesn't do is he still provides you he might be a better defender than Eric Bledsoe. Let's not play. Eric Bledsoe's a good defender. He's just not really much of a scorer or a playmaker type like that. So I think you still get that defense, but Jrue Holiday is, like I'm sure you guys have heard most NBA players say, one of the most underrated guards in the league. You can score and knock down a shot from deep. You're not sagging off him if he's left over, even though he's not like, a JJ Redick type or something like that. You're going to respect that shot. So I think that's a great pickup for the Bucks. Again, am I still wowed by them? Is this enough to make me say, okay, they're going to the finals? No, but is this an improvement to what they had on the roster last year? I would say yes. So I still see them as a second-round conference finals type of team till I see them actually playing on the court and if they make any additional moves. Now, as far as the Pelicans, bringing in Steven Adams, like you said, trainers need to have the ice ready, all that. Because if you're running through double screens with Williamson and Steven Adams all night and you've got playmakers on that team, you've got Alonzo Ball still, you still got – and we're assuming Brandon Ingram's still there, so that's their go-to scorer. Steven Adams just brings a veteran presence, a guy who knows where to be, can tell the younger guys how to move. Hey, I'm going to come here. You come off this screen here. Boom, this is how it's going to shake. He's just a guy that's been around the league for a while. When you have a team with a bunch of young players but could possibly make the playoffs, it's good to have a vet like that. So he finally gets out of OKC, gets a chance to start somewhere fresh. I think it's a good move. Will they be hurt by losing Jrue Holiday? Totally agree. Yes, they will. There'll be a young team fighting for that 7th, 8th spot with the Suns and I'd even say Minnesota earlier. So I think they'll be around that area. But overall, the Pelicans, are they better this year than last year? Right now, I'm going to grade them about the same. You lose Jrue Holiday, but you get everybody back. That's another year of chemistry. You bring in Steven Adams, a better center than you had last year. Jackson Hayes can learn from him. I like that. As far as the Bucks, like I said, second round conference finals type team till they prove to me they can be more than that and whatever moves they decide to make from here.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucks definitely did the right thing. This is possibly their last year with Giannis. I think they need to do absolutely everything they can to build that squad around him to, one, make it to the finals with him, because in my opinion, if he doesn't make it to the finals, he's gone. So I think right now they're doing anything they can to try to convince Giannis to stay or have one last push effort to at least make the finals, which I think correlate with each other directly. But looking at New Orleans, I'm really worried about them not having a ball handler now. I really don't know who's going to replace Jrue Holiday, and that's arguably the most important position on the court, someone that's going to start all your plays. So, Stacey, looks like you got to say something.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they still got Lonzo.
LB, baby.
Lonzo is a great ball handler. He's a great passer.
Life.
I
agree. Carry on. I agree.
Yeah. I think Lonzo. I'm looking for Lonzo to step up his game this year. I'm looking for that because
he's gonna need to.
Yeah, a lot of people is writing him off. His brother's now in the NBA. All eyes gonna be on him. Yeah, and like you said, Jordan, he needs to. He has to, or else he's going to be labeled a bust. So I think they'll be fine as far as that. Then they did get Eric Bledsoe in return, right? Yeah. So like, I mean,
if he didn't work in Milwaukee, he's not working in New Orleans.
I mean, he could kind of hide in New Orleans. He could kind of like take a little step back and focus on the scoring or whatever. So because you got Lonzo, who's a willing defender at the very least. So I think he'll be fine as far as at that. But as far as the Bucks getting Jrue Holiday, I really love that they got Jrue Holiday. Like Mike mentioned, I remember seeing that video and the NBA players, it was like, who's like the toughest player to guard you and all that. And all of them said Jrue Holiday. They're going to get that. They're going to get somebody who can drop 19 consistently, can shoot very efficiently. I think Chris Middleton will step up a little bit this year because it's not going to be all on him to be that second scorer because you do have Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday is going to make it tough for opposing point guards. Now, is this enough to keep Giannis around long term? Nah, it's not. They definitely going to have to make some noise and get to the NBA Finals this year to keep him. But I think as far as right now, it's a definite upgrade over Eric Bledsoe. So remember episodes ago, I said that they was going to move on from Bledsoe and Middleton, either one or both. And look what happened. They moved on for Eric Bledsoe. So I think the Bucks, I think they'll be cool. As far as Steven Adams and Zion setting picks, my shoulder already hurts just thinking about it. But Steven Adams, I think Steven Adams will provide, and this is something that Jrue Holiday is not up there with Steven Adams with. Like, I think he will provide like good leadership. That's something that this team is missing: good leadership, good veteran presence, and I think that he's going to uplift them in that department.
Okay, Ben, what about you? How are you feeling about that trade and these two teams moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I first of all want to say I think Steven Adams and Zion might kill someone like Trae Young or something, a little skinny. I think.
How many players do you think they injure throughout the season?
Enough. I think Trae Young's the first to go. He's a little skinny, I'm worried about him. I'm worried about Trae, but I'll leave that alone for now. I think Jrue Holiday to the Bucks obviously makes them a lot better. He's an elite defender. Like you said, Jordan, everyone in the league thinks he slept on. He didn't even make second team all defense this past year, if I'm correct. But it's just, oh man, and I feel bad for the Bucks because every year they're number one seed or they're a high seed and they get discredited come playoff time. But at the same time, I don't feel bad because that was DeRozan era Raptors. So Bucks fans, sucks to suck. Win a chip, and then we'll have a different conversation. But for now, I feel your pain. I don't empathize. So yeah, I mean that's my same feelings as Mike. Like they're going to be a one seed again, probably, but I think they're going to lose to like Sixers. Made a lot of good moves in my opinion this offseason, surrounding Ben Simmons and Embiid with shooters. You got Seth Curry, Danny Green now. So I think they could probably knock off the Bucks in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised. Even Boston last year, I would have taken Boston over Milwaukee if it had come to that. Miami retains all their players, whatever. But as far as New Orleans, I think they might have got better in the sense that give Lonzo the reins. He's a good playmaker. He's a good defender. Eric Bledsoe's a good defender. I think he made the all defensive team this year. And Eric Bledsoe's not bad either. He just kind of, it seems like in the past he's disappeared come playoff time. but he's been solid through the regular season. And then you add Steven Adams. I mean, retain Zion, who was having a electric rookie season. Retain Brandon Ingram, hopefully, who was having a great year as well. Most improved sort of bid he made. And yeah, I mean, I think it was sort of a win-win situation because the Pelicans weren't going anywhere with Jrue Holiday. Bucks weren't going anywhere with Eric Bledsoe. They swap. Pelicans pick up Steven Adams as well. So we'll see what happens. But Bucks fans, I'm sorry. It hurts.
No love lost there. All right, we'll move on to our hot takes segment. So, Ben, I'll let you run it with that.
Yeah, we touched on this earlier already, but I think personally the Rockets had a great free agency. And the jump from ESPN, we know him, we love him, Kendrick Perkins, Rachel Nichols, just a rotating panel of guests. They mentioned the Rockets as a loser of this free agency, the 2020 free agency. And I think that's a bit hasty because they sort of premised it around James Harden leaving, Russell Westbrook leaving, whatever. They haven't left yet. They added Christian Wood, Demarcus Cousins. Stacey, do you think that's accurate, or are the Rockets sort of in a good place right now?
They're losers. How? Like, in what way?
They just based it around, James Harden and Russell Westbrook being, supposedly on the trade block.
Yeah, but they still there.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's a hot take. It makes no sense.
I mean, they didn't lose anything. Now, as far as the mental aspect, the team camaraderie, maybe like it's going to be a little rocky at first, but at the end of the day, they still there. They didn't lose anything. So no, they're not the biggest losers in the all season. Are they winners? Nah, except the Christian Wood signing. I think that was pretty big because he was like top 5, top 8 free agents available. But nah, they didn't lose in free agency.
Yeah. Mike, are the Rockets winners or losers?
I have to call you a winner because you still have James Harden, you still have Russell Westbrook, and you don't get worse adding DeMarcus Cousins and a Christian Wood. You did lose Austin Rivers, but I think his kind of production is replaceable. So I can't call them losers. If I had to pick a team to call a loser, and forgive me, I can't remember all their signings right now, but I can remember one for sure. We probably need to talk about the Detroit Pistons. Now, I know Charlotte spent some crazy money on Gordon Hayward, but if I remember correctly, the Pistons spent some money on about Plumlee for sure. About a 3-year, 25 mil, something crazy like that. I would have to go back and look. I think if you look at that, you're just spending money. Are we saying today the Pistons are better than they were yesterday? I know I'm not with whatever signings they made outside of Plumlee. Blake Griffin's still there. What did you really do that's going to help this team where you bring a former coach of the year just 2 years ago in? You're supposed to be trending towards the playoffs. You have Derrick Rose, you have Blake Griffin, you have some guys like that. I felt like they were losers because I felt like they spent so much money. And the fact that I can't remember more than Plumlee of who you brought in, that's a bad sign to me, especially when you're in the East. And I can't say for sure that your signings will get you in the playoffs in the East. So
which is not right.
So I'm not going to call the Rockets losers as of right now because, like Stacey said, last time I checked, James Harden is still a Houston Rocket. Last time I checked, Russell Westbrook is still a Houston Rocket. Last time I checked, y'all added DeMarcus Cousins, Christian Wood, guys who can come in and give you production right away. Yes, you lost Covington, but you still got Eric Gordon. You still got PJ Tucker. You still got a good nucleus of guys there. So I disagree. I think the Rockets had a decent offseason. I don't think you could consider them losers, though. Not at all.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Jordan, what do you think?
I think there's two ways of looking at this. And I think I talked about this with Stacey on his podcast. You have the one way of, they hit those check marks, they got their added height, they did what they needed to do. But at the same time, you got to look at it the other way. Even with this roster, they're not coming out of the West. So I think, something that people may have been upset about is, you hear rumors that Westbrook and Harden, these guys want out. They just ditched their coach. They just ditched their GM. Maybe some people wanted them to blow it up and start rebuilding. There's that other way of looking at it. Where, okay, you have an aging Harden, you have an aging Westbrook. it's time to blow it up and start over. Now's not the time to compete for a title. You know, you got the Lakers to deal with in your own conference. Never mind what's coming out of the East. I just don't think it's the Houston Rockets' time. So I wouldn't say that this is necessarily a hot take, depending on how they were looking at that. But I don't think they're losers. I mean, they checked the boxes. So at the end of the day, you can't be upset with that.
Yeah. Go for it, Mike.
I forgot one thing. So here's the people the Pistons signed, just so we know
Oh.
for sure. Okay, so they signed Plumlee to, like I said, 3-year, $24-25 million deal. They signed Jahlil Okafor to like a 2-year deal, about $15 million, whatever. And they signed, even though I like this guy, I don't think he tilts the talent of your team too much. They signed Jeremiah Grant from Denver last year, who played really good in the playoffs. And now he goes there for a bigger role, but you spend all that money, and I'm still wondering, can Detroit make the playoffs right now? So just want to go out there. Yeah, those are the guys they signed. So I think Houston did better than some people.
Yeah.
Well, the Pistons are just going to be cursed this year because they have the Air Jordan logo on some of their jerseys. So,
Bruh,
I think you're right. And, man, it's so easy to make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. Some playoff contenders in the Eastern Conference, I'll run through them. Charlotte Hornets, Washington Wizards, Orlando Magic. If you can't make the playoffs in a crop of teams that features those guys, that's unfortunate. That's tough.
I'm saying.
But hey, that was my only hot take. This is my favorite segment of the week. I love just clowning these people. Mike, tell me your keyboard warrior of the week.
Hey man, so I went and found my keyboard warrior this week, and actually my keyboard warrior of the week, everybody who's listening might know this guy. Played for the Celtics. His name is Kendrick Perkins. Here's his tweet that he put out, and we kind of already talked about this. It's not too crazy, but I definitely disagree. So I'm gonna read y'all his tweet this from Kendrick Perkins, November 21st. The Suns signing Jay Crowder was huge. Like I said, they will be a top 5 team in the West this year. Carry on. He told me to carry on after that. I will carry on. I'm going to carry on and tell you 5 teams I automatically have above them. Now, I already stated these teams earlier, but I want to get you guys' opinion. So, of course, I got the Lakers over the Suns. I got the Clippers over the Suns. I got Denver over the Suns. I got Dallas over the Suns. I got Portland over the Suns. And I have Golden State still over the Suns. So, after that, here's a couple teams that you can kind of put in that area with them. Suns, Memphis, don't forget about them. They were, they lost the play-in tournament. Then you still got New Orleans. Then you still got Minnesota, who just added D'Lo, Anthony Edwards, Karl-Anthony Towns. So, I mean, do we want to talk about the Kings? They're trash. I get it. But I'm saying it's a lot of young teams down at the bottom that I feel like the Suns will not be a 5 seed or higher. So I'll ask you this. I'll start with you, big dog Jordan. Do you think the Suns are a top 5 team in the West next year? No doubt, because they got Jay Crowder now.
Zero chance, especially because of Jay Crowder. That's a joke. I mean, if he was thinking, Chris Paul brought the Thunder to the 5th seed, so maybe he can do the same with Phoenix. But Jay Crowder, because of Jay Crowder, they're gonna be a 5th seed in the West. Get out of here. No.
Yeah, I would agree too. Jay Crowder, great 3-and-D guy. He can defend. He can get out there. I don't think he's boosting you in the upper echelon in the West. Stacey, what you think, man?
Hey, shout out to my boy Jay Crowder. You saw what he did with the Miami Heat. He was vital in that rotation.
Yep.
He will provide productive minutes with the Phoenix Suns. But no, at best, at the very, very, very best, they'll be 5. At the very, very best. That's if things go right for them, like those other teams that's competing for the playoff spots. That's if they tumble. I mean, you still, like you said, you still got teams like the Memphis Grizzlies who's been forgotten about that can compete. The New Orleans Pelicans should be better. You still got Utah. Utah's still a veteran team, and you can't necessarily they make the playoffs somehow. Then the Golden State Warriors, I'm expecting them to be better. Now they got a healthy Steph Curry, they got a healthy Draymond Green, and I think Andrew Wiggins is going to mature now that he's in a better situation. I still worry about them defensively, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But Kendrick Perkins, Jay Crowder is not a lock for a fifth seed, man. He's not. If you said that about Chris Paul, then we can let him slide with that, but not Jay Crowder. Come on.
Hey, look, man, I would have to agree. My thing is something we also got to keep in mind with the Suns, why I think that reaching that coveted fifth seed might be hard. I understand Chris Paul was healthy last year. I get it. Don't trust me, I do. 2 years before that, he wasn't injured in the playoffs. We all know the Rockets were supposed to be in the finals. Chris Paul goes down. They lose 2 games in a row. They go out to the Warriors. Chris Paul is turning what this year? 35, 36.
Yeah.
Another year. We're back to 72 games this year. I mean, that's just something to think about. But what do you think, Ben?
Man, I mean, I just want to say I love this segment, like I said, because normally, four of us here we'll respectfully disagree about certain things. Keyboard Warrior, we can always gang up on whatever crazy person is on our screens this week. This makes no sense. Like you guys said, the fact that he's claiming Jay Crowder as the reason that they're going to be a lock for the fifth seed is shaky. Like Mike said, Chris Paul's health is in question. He's turning 36 this coming season, and just all in all, like all you guys said, Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets, Jazz, Rockets, Warriors, go on and on. Like, there's so many teams that I feel like could be better than the Suns, that having them a lock for the top 5 is a little bit ridiculous.
I would have to agree. And the last thing I want to say on that is, granted, the Suns went 8-0 in the bubble. We was all high on them. Everybody, the Suns, this, and that. It's totally different when you coming into the year and teams expect you to be good. We normally expect the Suns to be bad. The Suns, and I ain't trying to be that guy, but in the bubble, the Suns beat some teams that were resting for the playoffs on the way to being 8-0 in the bubble. So now we know, okay, you bring in Chris Paul. Oh, Devin Booker's ready. He hit that game winner against the Clippers in the bubble. Okay, you ready now? It's different when teams know you're good and they're not going to sleep on you when you walk in. But that's all I got for my Keyboard Warrior segment today, man. It's back to you, Jordan.
That's going to do it for this episode. It's a little bit long, but we had a lot of content to fit in. We hadn't recorded in many weeks. I'll leave it at that. But that's going to do it for episode 49 of the CrownHoops Podcast. Next week, we have episode 50. That's going to be a big one.
Hey.
So we'll do something special for that. We'll do a giveaway or something like that.
Cool.
We'll figure it out. We'll get back to you on that next week. But that is it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening, watching, however you guys are consuming this content. My name is Jordan Daly. With me this week, we had Stacey Collier, Mike White, and Ben Okazawa. See you guys next time. Peace.